In the 1900s, topology wasn't really properly invented yet, but one of the tools that people had to try and work out what shape something was loops. So our ant, who lives on the surface and can't really see what's going on, can make journeys around on the surface and come back to where he started. And it's all about the journeys. Imagine I can draw a loop on something, and then I'm allowed to wiggle the loop around and stretch it and shrink it, but I have to stay in the surface of the object and I can't break the loop. Well, it became apparent that it's quite important if, for a given loop, it's possible to shrink it down until it disappears. For example, this loop on a sphere I can shrink down. Also this one, which goes around the equator, like Amelia Earhart in her plane, can be shrunk down to a point, although it does take a bit longer. But here on the torus, while some loops can be shrunk, this one, for instance, can't, and neither can this one. This space, which we call the two-dimensional plane, goes on forever in all directions. You can walk in a straight line on it forever, and you'll find it still goes on forever in all directions. We can in fact shrink any loop here down to a point. There's nothing to stop us. It's also possible to do this on a sphere. If an object has the property that any loop on it can be shrunk down to a point, we say that it's simply connected, which means firstly that it's connected, it's only got one piece to it, and secondly that it doesn't have any holes in it. And it turns out the holes are very important. So, for example, with a torus like this, we'll find that there are two loops which can't be shrunk down to a point on an object with one hole. On an object with two holes, like this waistcoat, there will be 6 different loops that can't be shrunk to a point. And something that's simply connected, like this sphere, will always have no loops that can't be shrunk down to a point. So now you know what simply connected means. It means that any loop in the surface can be shrunk down to nothing.